Most men spend half their lives chasing money, approval, or distractions, only to wake up decades later and realize they missed the real lessons of living well. There is a quiet tragedy in this. A man spends his youth burning through his energy in pursuit of validation, trying to prove himself to others, and climbing ladders that may not even matter. He tells himself that one day, once he has enough wealth, enough recognition, enough control, he will finally rest. But the years slip by quickly, and when he looks back, he often realizes he was moving fast, but not necessarily moving in the right direction. He sacrificed joy for status, peace for ambition, and truth for appearances. By the time he sees it clearly, it is often too late to undo the cost. Yet, this is not a new problem. Thousands of years ago, in the courts, villages, and mountains of ancient China, philosophers already saw this restless hunger in men. They saw how human beings could lose themselves in pride, greed, and the endless chase for more. Confucius spoke about the importance of self-cultivation and discipline because he saw that without a steady foundation, men wasted their potential. Lao Tzu wrote about flowing like water and living simply because he saw that forcing life only brought suffering. Zhuangzi laughed at the seriousness with which men clung to their roles and titles, reminding them that life was fleeting and freedom mattered more. Sun Tzu taught that real strength comes not from endless fighting, but from knowing which battles are worth fighting at all. Han Fei, in his harsh way, revealed the brutal truth. If you do not discipline yourself, the world will discipline you. These voices from the past may seem distant, but they echo directly into the struggles of men today. The distractions are different: social media, consumer culture, corporate ladders, but the pattern is the same. Men give away their lives to the illusion that they will find fulfillment later, only to discover that they traded their best years for things that never brought lasting peace. The wisdom of the ancients reminds us that a meaningful life is not something you stumble upon in old age, but something you shape day by day through clarity, restraint, and purpose. The lessons that follow are not abstract ideas for scholars, they are survival tools for the soul. Too many men only grasp them when regret has already set in, when the time to act has passed. But you are not bound to repeat that cycle. These lessons are here, waiting to be lived now, before the mirror reminds you that half your life is already gone. The choice is yours. Continue down the same path of restless pursuit, or begin to live with the wisdom that the ancients preserved for you. The man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones. At first glance, this line from Confucius may sound almost too obvious, but hidden inside it is one of the most powerful truths about life and progress. Confucius understood something that many men today still overlook. Greatness is never achieved in a single dramatic act. It is built quietly day by day through the unglamorous discipline of steady effort. A mountain looks impossible to move when you stare at it from a distance. But when you focus only on lifting one stone, the impossible becomes manageable. And when that single act is repeated consistently, the impossible eventually becomes inevitable. Confucius lived in a time of political chaos and social disorder, yet he never placed his faith in chance or raw talent. He believed that what makes a man strong is not a sudden burst of brilliance, but the patient cultivation of character through habits. Talent may give you a head start, but without discipline, talent burns out quickly. A man who only relies on what comes easily to him will eventually be overtaken by the man who shows up every day, working on himself piece by piece. This is why Confucius emphasized ritual, repetition, and practice. He saw discipline not as punishment, but as the path to freedom. The disciplined man is not enslaved by his impulses, he becomes the master of his own future. Modern life, however, has conditioned men to think the opposite. Everywhere we see stories of overnight success. The startup founder who becomes a billionaire at 25, the athlete who dominates early in his career, the influencer who suddenly rises to fame. These stories distort our sense of reality. They make men believe that success is the result of talent combined with luck, not the product of steady effort. And so many men chase motivation, waiting for that perfect moment of inspiration to get started. But motivation is like a matchstick. It burns bright but dies quickly. Discipline, on the other hand, is like a steady flame, not always dramatic but capable of lighting the path for a lifetime. Think of the man who relies only on talent. He may shine for a while, but when life becomes difficult, when the job market shifts, when his body starts to age, when setbacks arrive, his talent alone cannot save him. Without the discipline to adapt, endure, and rebuild, he collapses. Compare that to the man who has trained himself to be steady and consistent. Even when he is not at his best, even when things get hard, he continues moving forward. His progress is slow but unstoppable because it does not depend on external conditions. Discipline carries him through what talent alone cannot. This principle applies to every part of life. If you want to be wise, you do not suddenly become enlightened in one night. You read, reflect, and challenge your thoughts every single day. If you want to be financially secure, you do not need to win the lottery or strike gold on one lucky investment. You save, budget, and make careful decisions consistently year after year. If you want a strong body, you do not need to crush yourself with extreme workouts once a month. You need to train regularly, even on the days you don't feel like it. And if you want to master your emotions, you cannot expect a single meditation retreat to fix your mind. You must practice patience daily, in the little frustrations of ordinary life. Confucius knew that men are often tempted by shortcuts, but shortcuts rarely last. What lasts is what compounds. A single workout does not make you strong, but years of steady training transform your body. Reading one book does not make you wise, but years of reading make your mind sharp. Investing once will not make you wealthy, but small, consistent savings turn into financial freedom. The man who carries small stones every day eventually moves a mountain, while the man who looks for shortcuts wastes his life searching for an easier path that does not exist. There is also a hidden dignity in discipline. The world celebrates flashy talent and big achievements, but discipline is quiet, invisible, often unnoticed, and yet it shapes a man's character more deeply than anything else. A disciplined man is reliable. People trust him because they know he follows through. A disciplined man respects himself because he knows he has control over his actions. A disciplined man becomes free because he is no longer at the mercy of passing moods or external chaos. Discipline is not glamorous, but it is the backbone of all greatness. The tragedy is that many men only realize this when it's too late. They look back at years spent chasing shortcuts, wasting time, and relying on bursts of motivation, only to discover that nothing solid was built. They wonder why their bodies are weak, their minds restless, and their opportunities scarce. They regret not building the habits that would have carried them forward. Talent fades with age, but discipline compounds with time. The earlier it begins, the more unstoppable it becomes. So the real challenge is not asking yourself, what am I capable of when I'm at my best, but rather, what can I do every day no matter how I feel? If you can answer that honestly and then commit to it, you will find yourself moving mountains without even realizing it. Confucius was not telling us to be extraordinary heroes. He was reminding us that the extraordinary comes from the ordinary, repeated consistently. Success is not about the size of the stones you carry, it's about whether you keep carrying them. This is why talent alone should never be your foundation. Talent can give you applause, but discipline gives you mastery. Talent may open the door, but only discipline keeps you in the room. Talent makes you impressive, but discipline makes you unshakable. And when life inevitably tests you with failure, loss, and hardship, it will not be talent that saves you, but the discipline you've built through years of steady effort. That is the essence of Confucius's wisdom. Start small, stay consistent, carry one stone today and another tomorrow. Do not chase the fantasy of sudden transformation. Instead, cultivate the strength of discipline and watch how it compounds into a life that talent alone could never create. Zhuangzi once told a story that continues to puzzle and inspire people more than 2,000 years later. One night he dreamed he was a butterfly. He fluttered about carefree, enjoying life in a way only a butterfly could. When he woke up, he was Zhuangzi again, but he was left with a haunting question. Was he a man who had dreamed of being a butterfly, or a butterfly now dreaming that he was a man? The story is simple, but its meaning is profound. Zhuangzi was pointing to the fragility of identity itself. What we think is solid and permanent, who we are, what we have, what we mean to others, may actually be as fleeting and dreamlike as a butterfly drifting on the wind. This parable shakes the foundations of how most men live their lives. So much energy is spent trying to build a stable identity. The career title, the car in the driveway, the reputation among peers, the number of followers online. Men cling to these external markers as if they define who they are. But Zhuangzi would laugh at this. He knew that these roles and labels are illusions, costumes we put on for a while but cannot wear forever. If even being human itself could be questioned, how much less permanent are the fragile signs of status we chase? In today's world, this problem has only intensified. Men measure their worth by what can be seen and compared. Who earns more money? Who has the more impressive body? Who posts the most enviable photos of their lifestyle? Social media has turned life into a stage, and many men have mistaken the applause for meaning. But the applause fades quickly, and the cost of constantly performing is exhaustion and emptiness. A man may look powerful from the outside, yet on the inside he feels like a hollow shell, unsure of who he is without the props of status. Zhuangzi's butterfly dream is a reminder that identity tied to external things is fragile, because external things can be taken away. A job title can vanish with one corporate decision, a car can be wrecked in an accident, online followers can disappear overnight with a change in algorithms, even health and beauty fade with age. If your sense of self depends on these things, then you are never truly free. You are a prisoner, chained to symbols that were never yours to begin with. True strength comes from detachment, not in the sense of apathy or carelessness, but in realizing that who you are does not depend on labels. When you strip away the costumes, what remains? When you are no longer defined as someone's employee, someone's son, someone's provider, someone's influencer, who are you? This is the uncomfortable but necessary question Zhuangzi asks us, because until you can answer it, you will always be at the mercy of whatever label society gives or takes from you. Imagine for a moment that tomorrow, everything you have to prove your worth is gone. No job title, no income, no possessions that signal status, no one online watching or applauding you. Would you still recognize yourself? Could you still walk through the world with dignity even without validation? Most men cannot. That is why they cling so tightly to status symbols, because they are terrified of what lies underneath. But the man who learns to detach, who learns to live freely without being defined by labels, becomes unshakable. He is like Zhuangzi's butterfly, drifting with the wind, unconcerned with how others define him. The danger of chasing status is that it never ends. As soon as you reach one level, another appears. You buy a car, but then someone else buys a better one. You gain followers, but then you compare yourself to someone with 10 times as many. You climb the corporate ladder, but then realize there is always another rung above. Chasing status is like drinking salt water. It feels like it will quench your thirst, but the more you drink, the thirstier you become. Men lose decades in this cycle, only to discover too late that they were never really chasing fulfillment, only illusions. Zhuangzi's wisdom is an invitation to step outside the cycle entirely, to live not for the applause, but for the freedom of being yourself. It is not about renouncing all possessions or achievements, but about no longer being defined by them. Drive a car, but do not become the car. Earn money, but do not let money own you. Share your work online, but do not let likes dictate your self-worth. The goal is to live lightly, like the butterfly in Zhuangzi's dream, free, playful, untethered to the heavy burdens of identity. This doesn't mean you will never care what others think, but it does mean you will stop being ruled by it. A man who no longer lives for status becomes unpredictable in the best way. He works because he wants to, not because he needs a title. He pursues relationships because they matter to him, not because they boost his image. He creates not to impress but to express. And because he is free, he becomes powerful in a way that those chasing validation can never match. Zhuangzi's butterfly dream is not meant to confuse us. It is meant to liberate us. It tells us that identity is flexible, that the things we cling to are not as real as we think. And if they are not real, then we are free to live without fear of losing them. The takeaway is simple but radical. True strength is freedom from labels. When you stop chasing status, you gain something far more valuable: your life back. Water is fluid, soft and yielding, but water will wear away rock. With these words, Lao Tzu revealed a truth that turns our usual idea of strength upside down. Most men are taught from a young age that to be strong is to be unbreakable, to be firm, to resist all pressure. We admire stone because it seems solid, permanent, immovable. But Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism, asked us to look at water instead. Water is soft, flexible, even weak by some standards. You can cut through stone, but you cannot cut through water. You can strike it, and it only shapes itself around your hand. And yet, over time, nothing is stronger than water. It carves canyons. It wears down mountains. It shapes the very land we live on. Its strength lies not in resistance, but in yielding. This is the essence of Wu Wei, one of Taoism's central teachings. Wu Wei is often translated as effortless action or non-forcing. It does not mean laziness or passivity. Instead, it is the art of moving with the current of life rather than against it. Think of a man rowing upstream with all his might, exhausting himself to gain only a few meters. Now compare him to the man who allows the river to carry him, adjusting his movement to the flow, conserving his strength. The first is stubborn but weak. The second is yielding but strong. Lao Tzu's wisdom teaches us that real mastery of life does not come from domination, but from alignment. Modern men often do the opposite. They try to dominate everything: their careers, their relationships, their health, even their reputation. They believe that with enough force and effort, they can bend life entirely to their will. This mentality can work in the short term, but it is not sustainable. The man who tries to control every outcome eventually burns out. He pushes harder at work until he breaks down. He tries to force people to love him, only to drive them away. He insists on always being right, only to end up isolated. Like a rigid tree in a storm, his strength snaps under pressure. Meanwhile, the flexible reed bends with the wind and survives. Lao Tzu invites us to consider another way of being. Instead of forcing outcomes, what if we learn to trust the flow of life? Instead of clinging to rigid plans, what if we allowed space for adaptation? Instead of treating softness as weakness, what if we discovered its hidden strength? Water has no fixed shape, yet it takes the shape of any container it enters. It adapts instantly to its environment, and in that adaptability lies its invincibility. A man who learns to be like water is never defeated because he cannot be broken. This is not abstract philosophy, it has real application in daily life. Consider relationships. Many men approach them with force, trying to control their partner, demanding loyalty, forcing affection. But love cannot be forced. It flows naturally when there is trust, patience, and presence. A man who is like water does not cling or demand. He creates space for love to grow, adjusting to its rhythm, and in doing so, builds something lasting. The same is true in work. Many men push themselves into burnout by believing they must constantly hustle, constantly grind, constantly outperform. But the man who is like water works with rhythm. He knows when to exert effort and when to rest, when to seize an opportunity and when to wait. He does not waste his energy fighting every battle. Instead, he conserves it for the right moment. Just as water slowly but surely erodes stone, over time this patience and adaptability lead to greater success than the frantic force of endless hustle. Another example is reputation. Men who live like stone are obsessed with controlling how others see them. They fight to defend their image, to maintain a sense of status or superiority. But this obsession creates constant anxiety. The man who is like water does not fight every rumor or opinion. He allows others to think what they will, knowing that truth reveals itself in time. By refusing to force his image, he actually becomes freer, more respected, and more at peace. Being like water also means learning how to let go. Stone clings to its shape, but water never resists change. It accepts the seasons, the tides, the shifting currents. In life, men often suffer because they cling to relationships that no longer serve them, to goals that no longer make sense, to identities that no longer fit. They resist change, and resistance creates pain. But the man who learns to flow adapts gracefully. He does not fear change, because he knows it is part of the rhythm of life. By letting go, he makes space for new possibilities to appear. One of the deepest lessons from Lao Tzu is that forcing life actually weakens you. The more you fight against what is, the more exhausted you become. But the more you align with what is, the more energy you gain. This does not mean you never act or pursue goals. It means you act with wisdom, choosing the path of least resistance, like water flowing through cracks in the rock. You use the natural flow of circumstances to your advantage, rather than wasting energy in constant struggle. This philosophy also speaks to inner strength. Many men believe that to be strong they must harden themselves, hide their emotions, and never show softness. But Lao Tzu would argue the opposite. What is truly strong is the man who can be soft without fear, who can bend without breaking, who can embrace vulnerability without losing himself. Just as water is both gentle and unstoppable, a man who allows himself to be both firm and tender gains a depth of strength that rigid men will never know. The takeaway is clear. Be water, not stone. Do not confuse rigidity with strength or softness with weakness. Life is not conquered by force but navigated through flow. The men who learn this truth become resilient, adaptable, and free. They do not collapse under pressure because they have learned to bend. They do not waste their lives forcing what cannot be forced because they have learned to trust the current. And like water wearing away rock, they accomplish what once seemed impossible, not through brute force but through patience and persistence. Lao Tzu's wisdom is not about surrendering your life to fate. It is about realizing that there is a deeper rhythm to existence, and when you align with it, you find both peace and power. Most men learn this lesson too late, after years of breaking themselves against the hard rocks of resistance. But if you can learn it now, you will discover a strength far greater than anything force could give you. He will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight. With this line, Sun Tzu revealed the hidden core of the art of war. It is not a book about endless fighting or constant aggression. It is not about crushing enemies at every turn. Instead, it is about wisdom, the wisdom of discernment, the ability to recognize when conflict is necessary and when it is destructive. Sun Tzu understood that strength is not measured by how often you fight, but by how carefully you choose your battles. Victory does not belong to the man who fights the most, but to the man who knows when to act and when to hold back. This principle is often misunderstood in the modern world. Many men confuse aggression with strength. They believe they must fight every insult, argue every point, and pursue every opportunity with maximum effort. They see life as a battlefield where every moment is a fight for dominance, but this constant war mentality drains energy and scatters focus. You can waste years trying to prove yourself in meaningless conflicts, and in the end, you win nothing of value. Sun Tzu's wisdom reminds us that mastery is not about constant struggle. It is about strategic restraint. The truth is, not every hill is worth dying on. Yet men often make the mistake of treating small disagreements, petty rivalries, or imagined slights as if they are life or death battles. How many friendships have been destroyed because one man could not let go of being right in an argument? How many marriages have crumbled because both partners insisted on winning every dispute? How many careers have been sabotaged because someone wasted energy proving a point instead of focusing on the bigger picture? These are not victories, they are losses disguised as pride. Sun Tzu would tell us that wisdom lies in letting go of small battles so that we have the strength to win the larger ones. Consider the modern workplace. A man who argues with his colleagues over every detail may feel powerful in the moment, but he exhausts himself and earns a reputation for being difficult. Another man, who chooses his conflicts carefully, stays silent when the issue is small, but speaks with conviction when it truly matters, ends up being far more influential. His words carry weight because they are not wasted. He saves his strength for the right moment, and when he does act, his actions are decisive. This is the difference between reckless aggression and strategic wisdom. The same applies to personal life. Men often waste enormous emotional energy fighting battles that do not matter. They argue endlessly with their partners over minor issues, forgetting the bigger purpose of love and companionship. They compete with their neighbors, trying to outshine them with bigger houses or better cars, forgetting that this rivalry changes nothing about their happiness. They spend hours online debating strangers about politics or sports, feeling victorious for a moment, but losing precious time that could have been used to build something meaningful. These are the battles that drain men of life, and in the end, no one wins them. Sun Tzu's wisdom urges us to ask ourselves what battles are truly worth fighting. A man who knows this question lives differently. He refuses to waste his strength on trivial things. He conserves his energy for what matters most, protecting his health, providing for his family, building his purpose, and living with integrity. He understands that life is short and every fight has a cost. So he fights rarely, but when he does, he fights with full force because he knows the battle is worth it. This kind of restraint requires humility. It is easy to let pride control you, to believe you must answer every insult or prove yourself at every turn. But true strength is the ability to walk away without feeling diminished. Sun Tzu teaches that avoiding unnecessary conflict is not weakness, but strategy. It is the mark of a man who knows his value does not depend on winning every argument. The wise man fights only when the outcome truly matters, and he does so with clarity and focus. There is also a deeper truth here. Every battle drains you, whether you win or lose. Time, energy, and attention are limited resources. If you waste them on meaningless fights, you have little left for the real challenges of life. A man who spends his days in petty conflicts often finds himself too tired to face the true tests when they arrive. But a man who conserves his strength is ready when it matters most. He understands that the greatest battles are not fought against others, but within himself, against laziness, fear, temptation, and despair. Saving your strength for these inner battles is what Sun Tzu's wisdom ultimately points to. Think of your health as one of these crucial battles. Many men neglect it, wasting energy on distractions while ignoring their body's needs. They fight over trivial things, but surrender in the battle for their own well-being. But what good is a victory in the outside world if your body collapses from neglect? The wise man chooses this battle. He fights for his health through discipline, rest, and care. He knows that without health, no other victory can be enjoyed. Another essential battle is for family and relationships. Too many men waste their energy proving themselves to strangers, while their loved ones suffer from neglect. They argue with coworkers, fight for promotions, and chase recognition, but fail to invest in the relationships that truly give life meaning. Sun Tzu's principle reminds us that the family is a battle worth choosing. Protecting, nurturing, and providing for those you love is not a distraction from life's mission. It is the heart of it. And finally, the most important battle of all, the battle for purpose. A man who has no purpose fights endless meaningless wars because he does not know what he stands for. But the man who knows his mission chooses carefully. Every yes and every no are guided by his deeper aim. He will walk away from distractions, ignore petty conflicts, and even endure insults if it means staying true to his purpose. And when the time comes to defend that purpose, he will fight with everything he has because he has saved his strength for the battle that defines his life. The wisdom of Sun Tzu is as relevant today as it was on ancient battlefields. Life is full of conflicts, both small and large. You cannot win them all, and you are not meant to. What matters is discernment. Victory comes to the man who knows which battles to walk away from and which battles to fight. Restraint is not weakness, it is strategy. Pride leads men into battles that cost them their peace, their time, and their strength. But humility, patience, and wisdom lead men to conserve their energy for what truly matters. The takeaway is simple. Not every hill is worth dying on. Before you enter a fight, whether with others, with yourself, or with the world, ask, is this worth the cost? Will this matter tomorrow? Will it matter in a year? If the answer is no, let it go. Save your strength. Life is short, and your battles should be chosen with care. As Sun Tzu reminds us, the man who knows when to fight and when not to fight is the man who truly wins. Confucius believed that the foundation of all true power was not force, wealth, or status, but virtue. He taught that if a ruler wanted to govern a country, the first thing he must do was govern himself. If a father wanted respect from his children, he had to live in a way that earned it. If a man wanted influence, he had to begin not with speeches or threats, but with the quiet discipline of his own character. In Confucius's eyes, power built on fear or manipulation was fragile. It might last for a season, but it would eventually collapse. Power rooted in virtue, however, had no need for constant enforcement. It drew people naturally, like plants turning toward the sun. The problem for many men today is that they try to reverse this order. They want respect before they are respectable. They demand loyalty without giving reasons to be trusted. They try to control others while they themselves remain undisciplined, chaotic, or lost. This creates an emptiness at the core of their influence. A boss may shout orders, but if his life is a mess, his authority is hollow. A father may demand obedience, but if his actions are selfish or destructive, his children eventually see through him. A man may command attention online, but if his real character is weak, the attention fades the moment people see behind the mask. Confucius knew that without virtue, all forms of power are temporary. To understand this, it helps to see virtue as a kind of invisible currency. Unlike money, you cannot buy it. Unlike reputation, you cannot fake it for long. Unlike fear, it does not vanish when you leave the room. Virtue is the slow accumulation of trust, integrity, and consistency. It is earned by how you speak, how you treat people, and how you live when no one is watching. A man of virtue may not be the loudest, but people listen when he speaks, because they know his words are backed by his life. A man of virtue may not seek followers, but others naturally look to him because his presence inspires confidence. This is the quiet, unshakable power that Confucius considered the highest form of leadership. Modern culture, however, often glorifies a different kind of power, one based on domination, manipulation, and image. We see leaders who bully, bosses who exploit, influencers who perform for attention while living the opposite of what they preach. They may achieve temporary influence, but it is brittle. The moment circumstances shift, the moment fear fades or the mask slips, their power collapses. Contrast this with the power of virtue. It is slower to build, less flashy, but it cannot be easily taken away. Even when a virtuous man faces setbacks, his character sustains him, and people remain drawn to him because they trust him. This idea applies not only to rulers and leaders, but to every man in daily life. If you want to be respected by others, begin by respecting yourself. If you want people to trust you, start by becoming trustworthy. If you want to lead, lead by example. Influence is not about controlling others, it is about controlling yourself. You cannot demand discipline from your children if you cannot wake up on time yourself. You cannot expect honesty from your employees if you cut corners at every opportunity. You cannot inspire loyalty in your partner if you live without integrity. Confucius's lesson is that people do not follow words, they follow character. There is a deeper reason why virtue holds this kind of power. When a man lives with virtue, he creates stability in a world full of chaos. Most people are unpredictable. They are driven by moods, impulses, or temptations. But the man of virtue is steady. He does not need to shout to be heard because people sense his strength in the way he carries himself. He does not need to threaten to get results because his example naturally sets a standard that others want to follow. This kind of presence cannot be faked. It must be lived day after day in small decisions that build into a consistent life. Think of how this applies in a modern workplace. Imagine two managers. The first tries to control his team through fear. He micromanages, criticizes, and pushes people constantly. At first, the team complies, but underneath, resentment builds. The second manager leads with quiet integrity. He holds himself to high standards, admits his mistakes, and treats his people with fairness. He does not need to shout or threaten, because his team respects him and does not want to disappoint him. Over time, the second manager builds loyalty that cannot be forced, while the first burns bridges that can never be rebuilt. The difference is virtue. The same dynamic applies in personal relationships. A man who lacks self-control may try to dominate his partner with anger or manipulation, but his relationship is always fragile. A man of virtue, on the other hand, shows patience, kindness, and consistency. He does not demand respect, he earns it. He does not force loyalty, he inspires it. His power does not come from fear, but from trust. And trust, once earned through virtue, is far stronger than control ever could be. Confucius's wisdom is also a challenge to modern men who seek shortcuts to influence. Many try to construct a powerful image without building a powerful character. They polish their social media profiles, buy symbols of success, and learn tricks of persuasion, but they neglect the harder work of self-mastery. Yet in the long run, image without substance always crumbles. People can be fooled for a time, but eventually truth comes out. Virtue cannot be faked, and its absence cannot be hidden forever. The application of this teaching is simple, but it requires honesty. Begin with yourself. Ask, do my actions match my words? Do I live in a way that I would want others to imitate? Do I carry myself with consistency, or do I shift with moods and impulses? Influence begins here, not out there. If you want to be a leader, master yourself first. If you want others to listen, live in a way that makes your words trustworthy. If you want respect, treat others with respect long before you demand it from them. The takeaway is that self-mastery is the foundation of all influence. Without it, power is shallow and temporary. With it, power becomes steady, natural, and lasting. Confucius knew that you cannot control others if you cannot control yourself. A man who cannot lead himself has no right to lead others. But a man who has cultivated virtue, who disciplines his own actions and lives with integrity, possesses a kind of quiet authority that no one can strip away. This kind of power does not come overnight. It is built slowly, through countless small choices. Choosing honesty when lying would be easier. Choosing patience when anger would feel more satisfying. Choosing consistency when giving up would be more comfortable. Each choice builds the invisible currency of virtue, and over time, it becomes the strongest foundation of influence a man can have. Unlike wealth, it cannot be stolen. Unlike reputation, it cannot be fabricated. Unlike status, it does not fade with age. Virtue is permanent, and the power it gives is the rarest and most enduring of all. In a world obsessed with appearances and quick results, Confucius's teaching may seem old-fashioned, but it is exactly what modern men need most. True leadership does not come from dominance, manipulation, or image. It comes from the steady weight of character. The men who grasp this lesson early do not waste their lives trying to control others. They focus on mastering themselves, and in doing so, they discover a deeper, quieter, and more lasting form of power, the power of virtue. There's a famous story about Zhuangzi that captures his philosophy in one powerful choice. A king once offered him a high office promising wealth, prestige, and influence. Most men would have accepted instantly. To hold power in the king's court was the dream of countless scholars in ancient China. But Zhuangzi refused. He told the king's messengers that he would rather remain free, wandering by rivers and living simply, than become trapped in a gilded cage. For him, no amount of honor or reward was worth the price of losing his independence. Zhuangzi's answer was radical because it challenged the assumption that success is measured by rank or status. He saw that life was fleeting, and it made no sense to waste it chasing things that would only bring regret. At the heart of this decision is one of Zhuangzi's deepest teachings. Life is short, And because it is short, freedom is worth more than power. Every man eventually faces the truth that time moves faster than he expects. One day you are young and full of energy, imagining endless years ahead of you. Then, without warning, decades have passed. The ambitions you thought would fulfill you are behind you, and you begin to realize that the best parts of life, experiences, joy, connection, freedom, were too often delayed for a future that never came. Zhuangzi understood this clearly. That is why he rejected the king's offer. He knew that years spent in chains, even golden chains, are wasted years. This wisdom speaks directly to the struggles of modern men. Many spend their lives grinding for a retirement they may never reach, or if they do, they arrive too exhausted or unhealthy to enjoy it. They tell themselves that happiness will come later, after the next promotion, after the next raise, after the mortgage is paid off. They sacrifice their present moments for a future that always moves further away. They live like prisoners working toward a release date, only to realize that freedom was available all along, if only they had chosen it. The danger is that modern culture rewards this mindset. Workplaces praise men who sacrifice everything for their careers. Society applauds those who accumulate wealth and possessions as proof of their value. Advertisements constantly whisper that happiness is just one purchase away. But Zhuangzi reminds us that this is a trap. Life does not wait until retirement to begin. It is happening right now in every small moment, and every day lost to joyless pursuit is a day you can never get back. Zhuangzi's decision to refuse high office was not laziness or irresponsibility. It was clarity. He saw that freedom, simplicity, and authenticity were worth more than honor and power. His choice was to live fully in the present rather than sacrifice his soul for future rewards. Modern men can learn from this by asking themselves a hard question. If today were your last day, would you be proud of how you spent it? Too many would admit that they are merely enduring their days, waiting for life to start at some imagined point in the future. But the truth is, life has already started. It has always been here, waiting for you to notice it. The application of this wisdom is not about abandoning responsibility or quitting work altogether. It is about prioritizing what truly matters. Experiences, relationships, and freedom are not luxuries to be postponed until later. They are the essence of life itself. A man who spends every waking hour chasing money while neglecting his loved ones will eventually learn that no paycheck can replace the warmth of those lost years. A man who spends decades in the office dreaming of travel may find himself too frail to explore when the time finally comes. A man who sacrifices his health for success discovers too late that no wealth can buy back vitality. To live like Zhuangzi is to recognize that the clock is always ticking, and therefore to make deliberate choices about what deserves your time. It is to understand that every day is a chance to live, not a stepping stone to some distant future. It is to refuse the lie that freedom and joy must wait until conditions are perfect. Instead, you find them now, in time spent with those you love, in work that matters to you, in simple pleasures that bring you peace. The men who fail to learn this lesson often look back with regret. They see that they traded the best years of their lives for symbols that did not last. They remember the family dinners they missed, the adventures they postponed, the friendships they let wither, all for the promise of a better tomorrow that never came. Their regret is not that they worked hard, but that they worked for the wrong things. They forgot that life itself was the prize, not the things they accumulated along the way. Living with Zhuangzi's wisdom means rejecting the pressure to postpone your life. It means realizing that freedom is not given by society or a paycheck. It is claimed by the choices you make. You do not need permission to take time for yourself, to enjoy the present, to live simply and authentically. You do not need a king's approval to wander by rivers and find joy in the ordinary. The power to live is already yours. The only question is whether you will use it before time runs out. This does not mean abandoning ambition altogether. Zhuangzi was not against effort or growth. He was against wasting your life for goals that do not matter. Ambition aligned with your true self, ambition that fuels joy and meaning, can be part of a good life. But blind ambition, the endless grind for status, money, or approval, is a trap. The key is to distinguish between what you are told to want and what actually matters to you. Only then can you live with the freedom Zhuangzi valued so deeply. The takeaway is simple. Don't wait for permission to live. Stop postponing your life for a future that may never arrive. Do not assume that happiness is something you will earn later. It is something you must choose now. Like Zhuangzi, dare to reject the golden cage, no matter how prestigious it looks. Choose freedom over status, simplicity over empty rewards, and presence over delay. Life is short, and every day you waste is one you will never get back. Han Fei, one of the most influential voices of Chinese legalism, held a view of human nature that was far harsher than that of Confucius or Lao Tzu. He believed that people, left to themselves, were selfish, chaotic, and short-sighted. Without rules, discipline, and consequences, men would give in to their worst impulses, creating disorder and destruction. Unlike Confucius, who emphasized virtue, or Lao Tzu, who spoke of flowing with life, Han Fei argued that structure and control were the only things that kept society from collapsing into chaos. While his philosophy was rigid and sometimes ruthless, it contained a truth that still cuts deep today. If you do not control yourself, someone else will step in and do it for you. This truth plays out clearly in the modern world. Men who lack self-control often believe they are free, but in reality, they live as slaves to their own impulses. The man who cannot control his appetite becomes a slave to food, his health declining year after year. The man who cannot control his desire for distraction becomes a slave to his phone, scrolling endlessly while life passes him by. The man who cannot control his spending becomes a slave to debt, chained to banks and corporations that profit from his lack of discipline. Even the man who cannot control his anger or emotions becomes a slave to them, watching as they ruin relationships, careers, and opportunities. Han Fei's philosophy reminds us that freedom without discipline is not freedom at all. It is a hidden form of captivity. Consider how easily corporations and governments exploit this weakness. Social media companies design apps to hijack your attention, knowing that most people lack the discipline to resist endless scrolling. Fast food chains engineer meals to keep you craving more, profiting from your lack of restraint. Consumer culture thrives on convincing men to buy things they don't need with money they don't have, keeping them trapped in cycles of debt and work. Governments and employers know that men without discipline are easier to control. They will follow orders without question because they lack the inner strength to govern themselves. In this way, self-mastery is not only a personal virtue, it is a form of resistance against systems that profit from weakness. The modern man often mistakes comfort for freedom, but the opposite is true. Comfort without discipline becomes a cage. The man who sleeps in every day, eats whatever he wants, and indulges every impulse may feel free in the moment, but over time his body weakens, his opportunities vanish, and his mind becomes restless. He is no longer choosing his life. His life is being chosen for him by habits he cannot escape. The man who embraces discipline, however, sacrifices temporary comfort for lasting freedom. By controlling his habits, emotions, and time, he gains the ability to shape his future instead of being dragged along by it. This principle can be applied to every aspect of life. Take habits, for example. A man who cannot discipline himself to exercise will one day face the control of doctors, medications, and illnesses that limit his freedom. A man who cannot discipline himself financially will one day face the control of creditors, employers, or governments who dictate his choices. A man who cannot discipline himself emotionally will one day face the control of others who manipulate his anger or fear for their own gain. In each case, the lack of self-control leads to someone else stepping in to control you. Han Fei's warning is simple but brutal. Either you master yourself or someone else will. The same applies to time. Time is the most valuable resource a man has, yet most men spend it carelessly. Hours are wasted on distractions, arguments, or empty entertainment. Days slip by without direction until years are lost. But time never pauses, and once it is gone, it cannot be reclaimed. A man who controls his time, who chooses deliberately how to spend it, builds a life of purpose. A man who does not becomes a servant to other people's demands and agendas. If you do not decide how to use your time, someone else will decide for you, and their goals will not be the same as yours. Self-control also extends to the inner life of emotions and thoughts. Many men live as captives of their emotions, reacting without thinking, letting anger, jealousy, or fear dictate their actions. They lash out in rage, only to regret it later. They let fear keep them small, never daring to pursue what they truly want. They allow jealousy to poison their relationships. In each case, they are not in control, their emotions are. Han Fei's harsh truth reminds us that emotional discipline is not about suppressing feelings, but about refusing to be ruled by them. A man who can pause before reacting, who can think clearly under pressure, is stronger than any man who explodes with anger or trembles with fear. The irony is that many men resist discipline because they believe it will restrict their freedom. But in reality, the opposite is true. Discipline is the only thing that creates freedom. A man who disciplines his body through fitness is free to climb mountains, play with his children, and live without the chains of illness. A man who disciplines his mind through study and focus is free to think for himself, to see through manipulation, and to create opportunities others cannot. A man who disciplines his finances is free to walk away from jobs or systems that do not serve him. The undisciplined man, by contrast, is bound at every turn by his cravings, his debts, his weakness, and his fears. The key application of Han Fei's teaching is this: take control of your habits, your emotions, and your time now, before someone else does. Build small daily practices that strengthen discipline, waking up at a set time, saving a portion of what you earn, training your body, setting limits on distractions, pausing before you react in anger. These are not just self-help tips, they are acts of reclaiming your freedom. Every habit you master reduces the control others can have over you. Every moment of discipline you practice makes you harder to manipulate. Every choice of self-control builds a stronger foundation for independence. The takeaway is clear: freedom begins with self-command. Without it, your life will be controlled by addictions, corporations, governments, or emotions. With it, you gain the rare ability to live on your own terms. Han Fei's voice may sound severe, but it is a necessary reminder in an age of distraction and indulgence. If you want to be free, do not wait for society to hand you that freedom. It never will. Instead, take it for yourself by mastering the only thing you can truly control: your own mind, body, and actions. That is the power of discipline. That is the beginning of true freedom.